Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to speak about this latter phase of Mercury retrograde. So it was in Libra, it's entered Virgo just after the Cazimi, the joining with the sun at the equinox. So it's in a very different phase, very different energetic. While it's in Virgo, it's going to be stationing very close to an opposition to Neptune, pretty much for over a week. Now, here's some very interesting perspective. This Mercury retrograde began in an opposition to Jupiter, and I spoke about that in the last video. Mercury and Jupiter are a natural polarity. Mercury corresponds to our logic, our linear organizing of reality. It's our reasoning. And Jupiter is intuition. It's our holistic understanding of reality. Right brain, left brain. Sagittarius, Gemini. Now, while Mercury is stationing direct at the other end of its retrograde journey, it's in an opposition to Neptune. And that reflects a very similar, also very different kind of opposition, and it's really worth giving some attention to. So before I jump into that, quick announcement. Next week, the Association for Evolutionary Astrology of Evolutionary Astrologers, we're beginning our 9-month program. This is between myself and 4 deeply practice evolutionary astrology colleagues, Kristen Fontana, David Green, Rose Marcus, Rav Shahal. We're all coming together to teach this program for the first year of this association. For $99, you can have access to all of these classes, the recordings, attending live. You can stay in interaction with us throughout the year. We also have an additional mentorship class that's also an add-on option. So check it out in the description below. Our first class, which will be on Mars retrograde relative to relative to the Pluto transit, will be next week, next Saturday. Okay. So whenever a planet stations retrograde or direct, it will stay within a degree for a long time. Like Pluto, for example, which moves very slow, will be in 1 degree for about 4 months, 2 months on both sides of the stationing. When faster moving Mercury stations direct or retrograde, it'll be about a week within 1 degree. So it's doing that, holding a degree from a perfect opposition to Neptune. So the relationship between Mercury and Neptune, Mercury is empiricism. It's also what we can control, right? In a sense, we can think of Mercury as everything the mind thinks it can do. We're ordering reality, thinking about it, talking about it, taking it apart, dissecting it, putting it back together, diagnosing it, analyzing it. We're describing, communicating, gathering more information, constantly building upon a working understanding and framework of reality. Neptune is reality. So the mind can never conquer it. You can't research, learn, talk about, communicate enough about reality to comprehend and encompass all of it. So very often Mercury-Neptune aspects, natally or in transit, can reflect a time where there's some sense of dismaying confusion, disorientation. Our logical ordering of reality, what we think, what we've decided is true in our minds, how we put it all together, there's always another perspective, conversation, bit of information, another curveball. And in fact, a part of the surrender, the humility, and the spiritual growth that occurs with a Mercury-Neptune opposition is the learning that the mind and what we know, the thoughts we think and how we understand reality, is meaningless on its own. It is absolutely meaningless. I mean, the English language is meaningless. Knowledge of astrology is meaningless. Phones are meaningless. Anything that we can coordinate and do, and skills and ways that we can talk or think about things, I mean, there's no function, there's no meaning in any of these functions. The meaning is something we may have given to it, but then that meaning can easily become meaningless or futile. Anything that the mind has decided to have meaning and purpose is very, very quickly disoriented as well. But the deeper teaching is the mind in its highest understanding is a receiver, an instrument for expressing greater meaning and purpose. Neptune, which is not empiricism, can use the mind, can use our existing frameworks of reality, our language, our skill, our knowledge, our tools, our techniques, our coordination, It can use it for a greater purpose. What we know right now is what we need to know, and if there's more that's helpful, we will be guided or directed towards that. We're instruments. And seeing it in that way brings this really peaceful and unifying perspective on our life. Then it's okay if we don't understand it all. It's okay if we don't have full perspective, because it's not about that, and the mind will never grasp all of it. If we remember and practice orienting our attention to the idea that we're just here to serve a part of the greater plan, the greater healing, the greater return, then it's more of a prayerful openness to, you guide me, you show me the way to look at all things, an openness and a divine, holy, beautiful, spacious curiosity to learn more, to receive instruction. This is what opens up when we give enough space in our perceptions to not conclude and decide and judge what everything is and what it's for. What's beautiful about the healing journey, or when problems are solved, from the perspective of truth, there are no personal problems. We all have our personal dilemmas. Myself and all of us, we have the things that we're chewing on that are hard, that are difficult, that we're trying to understand. And the answer to them isn't because we figured out some kind of personal answer and now our one problem is checked off and now we have 99 left. And all of those 99 will have their own solution. The answer to all of our problems truly comes from a perspective beyond the consciousness that perceive the nature of the problem, where really the problem itself isn't the problem, but the way in which we're organizing and thinking about our life in the first place. There are no personal problems and there are no personal answers or solutions. There's really just one answer, one solution. And when we allow our lives, as we learn to allow our lives to be guided by something greater than our own making, we see that our personal healing doesn't happen in a vat, right? The resolution of the content of my own soul journey is actually inseparable from yours. And I'm going to be used and you're going to be used. And the things that we do and know and what's here in our life all becomes a prop for the unfolding of healing. And the unity of it is so profound and so beautiful that what might start off as a very private, personally confusing, personal dilemma, it results in something that's unifying and takes us far beyond our own limiting ideas. It's like that fly on the trunk of an elephant. All it can do is just trust that there's much more to this thing called life than a trunk, right? It might have a name for it in this analogy, but it can't comprehend the whole elephant, much less the earth that the elephant walks upon and the sky that rains upon the elephant and the cinematographer talking about the elephant. I mean, there's just like a whole reality to it that is far, far, far beyond its capacity to comprehend, and it doesn't need to. It's absolutely unnecessary and impossible to grasp that level of comprehension. We all grow in our comprehension, because Mercury, we can say in general, is metaphorically where we are in our own personal library of ongoing learning. We're always going to be gathering more perspective and information, and that's great. We're always going to see more of the picture, but it's never going to encompass all of it. So what can this fly do but just trust? Trust and surrender. It's where it needs to be. It's going to learn what it needs to know, and it's going to be used and be guided and interact in a way that is most helpful and relevant for the greater purposes. So as Mercury is stationing, it's really going to just move a few more degrees or so over the next week plus, stationing within a degree of an opposition to Neptune, also squaring Mars in Gemini, which is getting ready to station retrograde. I'll be sharing more videos soon on Mars. This adds such a powerful dimension to it. Mercury is the ruler of Mars in Gemini. Squaring, it's really creating a T-square, right? Actually, the day where Mercury stations direct, the moon will be in Sagittarius, creating a grand cross. That will be on the 1st of October or so, where the moon's in Sagittarius. That would be a really fascinating day, just to notice the thought and the content that's arising. And really everything can be practiced in this devotional way. This is really a great time to practice that. And here's one of the beautiful things about Neptune. The things that we love to do that inspires us are very often the ways in which we're being guided and used to become instruments of love, right? If you like writing, there might be a calling to write, right? If you love music, if you love movies, if you love food, if you love eating, if you love architecture, if you love a particular topic, sci-fi, nothing is excluded. Everything, especially that which our personal unique makeup, where we're drawn to certain things and are just delighted by certain things, all of that gets to be used, because what better way to bring about healing and forgiveness than through that which we love most? That's like the holiest, most beautiful thing, where the things that we are most passionate and excited about also gets to be where we bring forth the greatest meaning and healing for all of us. Hello again. I want to read a section from A Course in Miracles additional pamphlet, Song of Prayer. This is a pamphlet that came towards the end of the channeling of this course, and it's one of the most inspiring and beautiful parts of the course. So I'm going to read a couple sections from that. Prayer is not merely a question or an entreaty. And I had to look up what the word entreaty means. Entreaty is like an anxious asking for something, like, please God help me, right? It cannot succeed until you realize that it asks for nothing. How else could it serve its purpose? It is impossible to pray for idols and hope to reach God, idols being that which we've given meaning to. True prayer must avoid the pitfall of asking to entreat. Ask rather to receive what is already given, to accept what is already there. And a couple paragraphs later, the secret of true prayer is to forget the things you think you need. To ask for the specific is much the same as to look on sin and then to forgive it. What that means is, it's similar to the sun looking upon a shadow. The sun can't look upon the shadow. If you say, hey, sun, come look at the shadow, the sun comes and it says, I don't see any shadow, right? You can't look on sin and forgive it. The very nature of forgiveness being the correcting of our thoughts of what we believe happened to us, recognizing in essence that there is nothing to forgive. To ask for the specific is to say, I am telling you, I am determining this is what I need, and I'm asking reality to conform to my illusions, fit into this box. In the same way, in prayer, you overlook your specific needs as you see them and let them go into God's hands. It's so beautiful to me. Okay, thank you for watching.